Okay, today I'm going to be talking about what you need to know before you get your next dog. Ideally, this is what you want to know before you even pick out a dog. And what I do is I see a lot of people, they'll make the mistake of wanting to get the happiest, most energetic, most playful, fun-loving dog that they can see. So they'll go and, if it's a shelter, it'll be the dog jumping all over them, or if it's a breeder, it'll be the dog that runs and jumps on them, or that's causing the most ruckus amongst the pack. That's the one they typically go for. That dog is likely going to need training. You're gonna have to teach that dog to settle, not to jump, and all these unwanted behaviors, you're gonna have to teach them how to live inside of the household. So typically I steer a lot of people, if it's your first time owning a dog, we definitely wanna steer clear of the super hyper fun-loving dog. And instead, what I tell people is look for the dog who's interested in treats. So if you put a treat in front of his face, he's gonna try to go for it. But he isn't necessarily playing with all of his brothers. He's likely sleeping, he's mellow, mild-mannered, relaxed, calm, cool, and collected. When we teach dogs at a Peaceful Pack, a lot of what we teach is how to teach the dogs basically how to relax, how to take a deep breath, how to regulate their heartbeat, how not to become excited when a guest enters the door, how not to be excited when the human, their owner, enters into the door. And when you have a dog that's mellow and mild-mannered, they're already a good pup. You may not need training. If you're able to teach them calm down, place, how to be in the kennel, how not to scarf down their food or jump on the counters, you may not even need training because the dog is already really good at relaxing. So that's typically the type of dog that I recommend personally, is the dog that's calm, cool, collected, mild-mannered. I think that's gonna be a really easy choice for anybody, honestly, but especially if it's your first time owning a dog. The second thing is what type of breed to get. If it is your first time owning a dog, I think going to the shelter is fantastic. I highly recommend that, but I also don't judge people who wanna buy a dog, like a specific type of breed. But regardless, when we're going to a shelter or the breed, technically it doesn't really matter all that much. Obviously your Malinois, your German Shepherd, these types of dogs, the working breeds are going to come with, they're gonna be more bitey, they're gonna be more prone to becoming reactive, barking at guests, the mailman, 100%. However, amongst that litter, you can find one that's calm, cool, and mellow typically. And so again, that's what we're gonna be looking for. But if it's your first time, I would steer clear of Huskies, basically any working dog, and let's try to get a good pet. I'm a personal fan. I know poodles are working breeds, but I really enjoy the poodle breed. If you get one that's not so hyper, because I have seen some crazy poodles before, but I have seen a lot of mild-mannered poodles, and they're very intuitive breeds. They also don't shed, so they're really good for allergies. Doodles, we see a lot of doodles these days. The Bernedoodle, I've actually only seen about 2 that are calm. All the other Bernedoodles I've seen have been bonkers. They're very sweet, very cute, but they have so much high energy and they're always interested in things. It may be a little too much. Golden Doodles, again, very, very high energy breeds. So when you are looking for a breed, just steer clear of those main ones. And if you are gonna get a working breed or a Husky or a German Shepherd, I personally own a German Shepherd myself and a Samoyed Husky mix. So I'm really fond of those breeds. I'm not saying don't get them, but if you're looking for that easy dog, you probably wanna be aware of not getting them your first go round. And if you are to get one, just look for the calm, cool behavior and energy. So what's the first things that you're gonna need to know to be a good dog owner? Well, if you're gonna try to teach your dog, there's a saying that if you want to be understood, you first need to understand. And so when we're trying to teach our dogs and get them to understand our rules, we first need to understand what the dog is saying. Dogs do not speak English. They speak dog. So they can interpret human body language, they can smell chemicals, they can smell things that are way beyond what we are capable of, but they are not going to be able to hear your long sentences. And I see a lot of first-time dog owners, or even people that have had dogs their whole lives, and they'll speak in long sentences and then they'll slip into a superstition that, no, my dog does understand me. He knows what I'm saying. He knows what I'm trying to get at because X, Y, and Z, and they'll justify it. And maybe the dog knows one key word in what you're saying that they pick out. So like, hey, I'm so excited to see you today. Do you want to go to the dog park? And then the dog becomes excited about the word dog park. Or, oh, someone looks like they're ready for a walk. And then that walk triggers the dog to get excited. And then they justify that the beginning part of the sentence is why the dog understands everything. It took me personally, I was like 7, 8 years old before I fully understood English, and I'm still not the best at grammar. So how much longer is it gonna take a dog? And then if you're not spending as much time as you would on a human to teach them English and grammar, how could you possibly expect them to understand English and grammar? It's just not the case. So instead, it's on us to study the dog body language. And I recommend Brenda Aloff's book. I think it's called The Native Canine Body Language. That's a book that I love to study. I still to this day look over it just to freshen myself up to make sure I am understanding the dog's body language perfectly. And to save you guys some time, there are some key things that I see dogs do that will be a game changer if you guys just learn these few things. The first one is a shake off. So when dogs become super stressed out, like especially when you're training, they may become tense. And when we see that, we may push them a little bit more, but then we need to take a step back, let them soak and understand. So soaking is like give them 10, 20 minutes or seconds to kind of process what's going on. Once you kind of give them a couple moments to process what's going on, then we want to start petting them. I like to get my hands like this and I go down their back and then I take my hands off. And typically what that does is it'll trigger a shake off, okay? And so when a dog shakes off, they are basically releasing the stress. They are shaking the stress off, you could say. That's an easy way to remember it. And really what a shake off does, for what I've seen, is it's like an energy transfer. A dog that's sleeping, that's about to go play, may stand up, stretch, shake off, and then start playing. Likewise, a dog that is super high energy comes inside, and the rules inside are you lay down and relax. So he comes from a high energy state inside the house. We may see him shake off and then lay down. So shake off is super important to see. The next thing is a neck scratch, okay? Just like humans, okay, you get bad news, you start to see people rub the back of their neck. It's a tell that they're a little bit uncomfortable, they don't like what's going on. In the same manner, dogs will scratch their neck, okay? And when we see a dog scratch their neck, what we're gonna be thinking is, what do they want? What is it that they want that they can't get, especially if it's a puppy? 9 times out of 10, the puppy needs to go to the bathroom. So that's why it's super important to watch for the neck scratch. When we see a dog scratch his neck, we're thinking, have they been fed recently? If yes, is there water in their water bowl? If yes, is it too cold or hot where they're at? If it's not, then we're thinking we need to go to the bathroom. And so when I see a dog scratch his neck, I like to ask him or tell him, like give him the command, bathroom, outside, potty, whatever it is that your cue is, say that. And if it's a brand new puppy, he's not gonna give you any indicating signs, body language cues that he understands that. We're just going to take it upon us to grab our leash. Hopefully we have our new puppy that's not potty trained on a leash. And we're gonna walk him to the door. We're gonna open the door. We're gonna say outside again. We'll walk him to a place to go to the bathroom. And as soon as he starts peeing, we can say outside, potty, whatever it is again. And then after he finishes, we wanna go up to him and give him that treat. We wanna go to him to give him the treat. So that's the neck scratch. Let's see. The lip lick is another one. A lot of the dogs that we train and that we have in videos, you're gonna see them a lip flick, tongue flick, whatever you wanna call it, but basically their tongue is gonna flick out of their mouth and touch the tip of their nose, or it's just gonna come out and lick their lips. That is a sign of stress or an appeasement signal. So when we are approaching a dog for the first time, you'll often see, and this is something you could try, if you wanna walk up to your dog and then put your hand out next to their nose, watch to see if their lip or their tongue doesn't flick out of their mouth and then go back in. And that's not necessarily a sign to not touch the dogs, but it is something to be aware of, that the dog is a little bit uncomfortable with you entering into their space. And so we don't just want to walk into our dog's space all the time. What I like to do is walk up, and before I pet my dog, I'll hold my hand out. If he nose touches my hand, then I like to pet my dogs. What that does is it establishes this boundary. Hey, I'm not just going to touch you whenever I want to. I'm going to ask for your permission, and if you nose touch my hand, then I'm going to pet you. Likewise, if you don't nose touch my hand, I won't pet you. And you can still pet them if they don't nose touch your hand, but just take that into consideration. Does my dog actually like to be pet? Why am I petting my dog? If they don't want to be touched, why am I touching them? Typically, you're gonna find a little bit of selfish love. I pet him because, you know, I got him so I could pet him, so I could feel better. And we just wanna be aware of that. It's okay to pet them, you know, when they don't wanna be touched. However, we wanna limit that, because if we pet them too much, they're gonna start to resent us and hate to be touched. And that's a dog that could turn aggressive, or, you know, you're gonna have relationship problems down the road. So that's a body language cue, is the tongue flick. Another one is a yawn. We see a lot of dogs yawn. A yawn can be multiple different things. A yawn can be a signal to tell us to calm down. My dog Zeta is key at this. When I'm in a conversation and I start getting hype, I'll start, you know, laughing or whatever it is, and my tone of voice will go up, 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 up. My dog Zeta will walk into my peripheral vision. She'll look me in the eyes and she'll do a big yawn, okay? And I'll actually see that. And just for her sake, because she watches me after she does it, I'll look away and yawn, and then I'll look back at her just to kind of signal, hey, I got you, thank you, and then I'll lower my tone of voice. I don't have to listen to her, right? I could tell her, Zeta, go lay down, or something like that, which I do sometimes. But every now and then, I just like to let her know, hey, I hear you, I see you, I appreciate your communication, and I'm actually going to listen to you, and I'm gonna calm my voice down. Likewise, because we have this relationship, one time I took her into a vet's office. It was one of her first times. Okay, so Zeta was a stray that we picked up off the street. And so she was pretty feral, pretty wild. And so I had to take her to the vet's office to get shots and everything like this. And when we were in there, she was panting, hypersalivating, drooling. She was not happy to be there. Her paws were sweaty. All of those are signs of stress. And I looked at her, she looked at me, and then I looked away. I faked a yawn, and then I looked back at her, which in turn, she licked her lips, looked away, yawned, a big one, and then laid down and took a deep breath, okay? So I didn't comfort her. I didn't say, oh, baby girl, you need to relax. There's nothing to be afraid of. The vet's office is safe. I didn't try to rationalize with her in English. I just spoke her language back to her, and not every dog does this, but every now and then you'll get a really intuitive, aware dog who understands body language on humans and, you know, their native canine body language, and you're able to communicate with them a lot better. So a yawn can be a signal to tell other dogs or humans in the area to calm down. It can also be a signal for themselves to calm down. So say I'm working a dog and I'm getting him stressed out, and then I give him a little break because I notice he's stressed out. We might see him take a big yawn, lick his lips, and then look back up to me saying, okay, I've processed what you're doing. I understand it now. It was a little stressful, but now I'm good to go. Let's continue. So yawns are really good to see, whether it's basically a stress indicator. The dog was stressed or is stressed and is dealing with the stress. And our job is to figure out, why is that dog stressed? Why is that dog yawning? So we've gone over a shake off. We've gone over a tongue flick, or a lip lick is what we say, either one. We've gone over a yawn and a neck scratch. And those four are what I'm gonna leave you with today. You must know those four. There are a lot more to the dog body language: assertive body posture, yielding body posture, but I'm gonna cover those in a later video. There is one other stretch that I think is super important, and that's going to be your play bow. Some people call it the I love you, the greeting stretch. Whenever a dog has his rear end up in the air, and then I think the yoga posture is called downward dog, and then the front two legs go flat, basically like they're bowing is what it could look like. That's gonna be an indicator of, I want you to get into my space. Whether it's I want you to get into my space so we can play, and then the dog starts getting into a playful mood, or typically first thing in the morning, if you're observant, check your dog out. When you wake up in the morning, turn, square your hips up to them, look at them, and see if they don't look at you, put their butt up in the air and do that bow. And what that means is, I love you, I'm happy to see you, I want to get into your space, I want you to get into my space, I want us to interact, I want us to physically, you know, touch or pet each other here. And so in the morning, what I do is I wake up, I brush my teeth, I open the door to let my dogs out, and then I put some water on, the kettle on to get some tea going. Once my dogs come back in, they come in one at a time, which is awesome. I look at them, Zeta will do a play bow or a greeting stretch, and then at that point, that's when I'll hold my hand out, she'll come to me, and then I'll pet her gently, and I'll just love on her in the morning. Then once she's done, I'll point and I'll say, go lay down. She goes and lays down, and then Argos comes. And then Argos will do it. And Argos is my German Shepherd. After I pet him, typically he doesn't want to be pet for long. He'll immediately go and try to get a ball, which at that point, since it's like 5 in the morning, I'll say, no, go lay down. And then he'll drop his ball. He'll typically huff, yawn, sigh, and then he'll go lay down. But I don't care whether or not I hurt his feelings, because in the end, it's 5 in the morning. I set the rules. I don't want to play ball right now. I'm waking up. There's other people in the house. My wife's sleeping. So it's just common courtesy, but he does not care. He just wants to play ball regardless. He doesn't really care who he wakes up. So that's our job, to tell our dogs no. But the important thing is there to know that I'm not caring whether he is happy or not. My goal is not Argos' happiness. My goal is that Argos is obedient and is respectful to me, and likewise I'll be respectful for him, and at the appropriate time I'll play with him. So those are the basic dog signals that'll really help you guys out. And it's very important to study dog body language. I recommend to do the whole book and to get everything down. It's going to help your communication with your dog tremendously. When does your dog actually understand what place means, and when do they not? And that's super important, because if you think your dog understands place but he doesn't, and then you try to punish the dog for getting off a place when he didn't understand he was supposed to stay on the place, you're going to cause a ton of unnecessary stress, and it could damage your relationship. Nothing is beyond repair, but if you don't know it's broken, you're not going to repair it. And so that's the whole big thing here, is reading the dog's stress and body posture and body language allows you to know when to push forward on the stress and when to pull back.